Yo, alrighty. Whoa, I just put an R. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a J. You guys know who this is. Actually, I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts. Is Jacob deGrom the best pitcher of our generation? Oof, hot take. Okay, so this is a really cool clip just showcasing deGrom's like upper half. I just hit my knee and yeah, I'm not going to rub it. We're good. So really cool clip showcasing his upper half and his torso, his trunk, and his hips, his pelvis, his booty, all of these things. I just want you to like notice, I use the word like segmentation a lot of times because I think the biggest disconnect with like younger guys is inability to segment, lower half, so lower and upper. And I think this kind of goes hand in hand with the whole sports specific stuff. Obviously, you can make the opposite argument about how like, well, if you're sports specific, you should understand that you need to do this in baseball to this and that. I get it. But like, if you play multiple sports, you learn about your body awareness is just naturally better. You increase your athleticism, you increase your coordination. I think all of these things help in the long run. deGrom's a shortstop. He's an athlete, right? So when I'm talking about segmentation, we're just going to notice how he's able to move these independently from each other, okay? So if you guys haven't yet done so, like I have a ton of videos on this. You can check out my article on, the hip shoulder separation, all of that stuff, therobbyrosho.com. Go to the content library, go to pitching mechanics, or pitching, then go to mechanics. It's all in there. So first thing we're going to see is he's already going into hip rotation, right? So if we were to see his foot, his drive leg foot, his heel's disconnected. He's probably getting up on his toes and is going into hip rotation. But you can see that he also, if we were to draw a straight line, he also has trunk like counter rotation over hip internal rotation, okay? So his trunk coming this way, kind of. I don't know. Not so much as much as his hips are in rotation. But the way that this happens, okay, so it's not a move in which I teach forcing the trunk to counter rotate. Even though some people can pull that off, I just did a breakdown on Josh Hader who kind of does something similar to this. But I don't think it's completely necessary because everything is going to rely on the hand. Everything is going to rely on the arm. And the body is going to move in relation to where the hand or arm is in space, okay? Meaning, if this hand is already up here, the trunk has nothing better to do than already start its rotation process. So again, I've done a ton of stuff. You can get into further context on early arm raise. It's on my website as well. So when we look at how to sequence the trunk properly, I teach the hand, or I teach the arm, right? So delay the arm. So this is what I'm talking about. I know we can't see his front foot, but this is the move. So the hips go, right? So this is crazy. You can kind of see this already in his jersey, right? So it's this. It's like that rotational energy he's creating, right? So I also want you to notice, look at like we can see his belt going and we can see his shoulders staying put, or even look at the amount of retraction. Now, fast forward a couple clips. You also notice, this is interesting to me because I'm big on the glove side, and I think the glove side can cause potentially more breakdowns than it can causing anything beneficial. So a big breakdown that we see with the glove side is leaking rotational energy by having the glove side fly out, right? No front side stability, the trunk flies out, and now we're susceptible, arm independent energy, all that, blah, blah, blah. But what Jacob deGrom actually does in this move is he gets an abundance amount of retraction, vocab word of the day, from glove side retraction and arm retraction. Typically, guys will hold glove side posture, right? So we see the plate right here. So guys will hold glove side posture and keep that glove side angled towards the desired target. deGrom actually almost looks like he's pulling glove side, but he's pulling both arms back, creating, I believe, more retraction and potentially delaying the trunk, right? So the deeper you get into this, into your scap, I feel like the longer you can essentially prolong the trunk from starting to go, okay? So here it comes. See, that's a really good view of that. This is just stupid. Look at this. Like, you can see that this is stupid. How many arrows do I have to draw like that, right? But this is the pulling sensation, right? Like, this is the dynamic of one hip rotation, okay? So hip rotation occurs fairly early, to be honest, in relationship to the heel disconnection, determines when the hip rotation starts. Now, he's anchored down. Now, this is, again, I've done a ton of content on the velocity enhancing move. He doesn't, nothing really happens essentially besides the hip rotation until his front foot, like, I know you can't see it, but boom, anchors down. So once that's anchored down, now we create all of this from before. Now once that's anchored down, now the goodness happens. So one, the hip rotation, because hip rotation occurs before the anchor point. So now two, this is when essentially hip rotation again, but it's a byproduct. Hip rotation is actually going to complete. Okay? So we complete. Hip rotation. So you see how open they are. They still, this rear hip still is going to go, it's going to shoot. Okay? So let's check it out. Boom. Right? So it's shooting still. Okay? And now this move is actually the third part in which hip rotation is now going to initiate trunk rotation. Right? I have terrible handwriting, whatever. So hip rotation, we saw it right there. Okay? So remember, rotational energy. Hip rotation is going to get completed, which is going to initiate the trunk rotation, right? So we see here, he's about 75% with his hip rotation, but he's still neutral with his trunk, okay? So now, that's going to go. Now the trunk rotation. So now 4, am I on 4 or 3? I don't remember. Yikes. So now 4, hip rotation delivers trunk rotation delivers the arm. Okay, so we see it here. All right, so now this is when the magic happens because we've anchored down, we stabilize with the front side or the front leg, okay? And now it's pulling, right? So trunk rotation's pulling arm through. If the trunk rotation pulls the arm through rather than the arm independently pulling or pushing into release, now we have more of that rotational velocity and acceleration to get into this unreal amounts of shoulder external rotation. Okay? So now that added freaking acceleration from the sequencing properly of hip rotation, trunk rotation, pull the arm through, that aids in the arm speed, essentially, right? Rather than having your arm independently trying to generate arm speed, okay? We see a lot of guys, again, going back to the big breakdowns that we see a lot of guys not having the ability to segment these two, so then they work together, right? So they work together and they move, so they don't segment, they don't create stretch, they don't create a ton of rotational energy, torque, so then when it comes time to deliver the arm has to just find a way to create independent energy for itself. And that forces the arm to not get into a decent amount of shoulder external rotation, lay back, which doesn't cause a lot of whip, so on and so forth, right? So we see deGrom sequence properly, gets a crazy amount of layback, and then just, it's a whip, man. All of that energy coming up through the fingertips. And now what we also see here at release, pretty good view. Boom. Well, I guess you can't see it that much. Pronation. Early pronation. Okay, we see a lot of guys with bicep pain. Again, it's probably a byproduct of inefficient sequencing, but you pronate early right after ball release. That deactivates the bicep from engaging in the throw, and now we just focus on arm deceleration in that same plane. Oh, I guess it doesn't show the whole decel. But anyways, yeah, you can see, again, I would encourage you to check out all of the other things that I told you to check out throughout this course of this video: velocity enhancing move, hip rotation mechanics, freaking all of that stuff can be found on therobbyrowshow.com. Go to the content library, go to pitching, go to mechanics. Dude, so much stuff, so much good. If you have yet to subscribe to this YouTube channel, do so now, because I hit my knee earlier and you should feel sorry for me. So therefore you should subscribe. God bless. Enjoy the rest of your day. Treat someone with kindness today. Yikes.